Channel 2S is brought to you by New Type HQ. Get your kits and supplies at the link in the description below. Alright guys, so I got a little bit of a different video for you today. Today we're going to be gushing over the RG Hi-Nu Gundam. However, this will not be a review because I do not have this kit in hand, and I probably won't be able to get it in hand for at least a month or two because that's just how it'd be in America. But I just felt like I had to talk about this kit anyways because it is so freaking cool, and I can't wait a month to gush about this thing with you guys. So yes, this is not a review. I'm just going to be looking at Schizophonic's fantastic in-detail gallery of this kit and gushing over it with you guys. So if you want to come along with me and look at one of the coolest kits of 2021, one of the kits that I think, in fact, I'm going to make the prediction right now, I think this might end up being the best kit of 2021. And if you want to come along with me and gush over this awesome model, go ahead and leave a like on this video, stick around, and we're going to look at some cool Gunpla. Right off the bat, one of the things that I love about modern real grades, the kind of kits we've been getting for the last few years, is they're making really smart use of the B-frame. It used to be with some of the older real grades that they just used B-frame for the entire inner frame, and it was a pretty cool gimmick for a while. I do enjoy the whole feeling of like cutting the parts of the limbs out of the runner and having just this whole bendy pre-assembled skeleton in my fingertips. I think it's a cool idea. I think the novelty of it kind of wore off for me, and I think there were also some serious engineering issues that arose because of their reliance on that technique. With a lot of the newer kits though, they're just using it for areas that make sense, and I think using the B-frame inner frame for just the funnel hinges is a really smart use of them because these are really small little hinges, and having them pre-assembled like this will make the whole process easier, especially considering that making the funnels for something like a Nu Gundam or a Hi-Nu Gundam is oftentimes one of the most tedious parts of the build. So they probably have sped up the process of building the funnels in this kit just by including the B-frame for the hinges, and I think that's really cool. And here it is, guys. This is the real grade Hi-Nu Gundam. What a gorgeous piece of work. I have made it no secret in the past that the Hi-Nu Gundam is one of my favorite Gundam designs, and it was actually one of the first Gundams I saw that I really fell in love with. Now, when you're talking about the Hi-Nu Gundam, there are kind of two different competing designs for it. There is the original design from the Beltortica Children novel, which is big, it's chunky, it's powerful, but it has a much simpler color scheme than the later redesign. The redesign slims it down, swaps the purple for blue, and changes the overall color layout on areas like the shield and funnels. I've always preferred the 2005, 2007 remake, somewhere about in there. That's the redesign that is used for a lot of the modern kits. It's the redesign you see in a lot of the modern games, and to me, that was the version of the Hi-Nu Gundam that I fell in love with. Now, over the years, I have gained a bit more of an appreciation for the really beefy, powerful silhouette of the original Hi-Nu Gundam design. However, I do still really like the color scheme of the remake. And what I really love about the real grade Hi-Nu Gundam is that it pretty much takes the best elements of both designs and combines them together. It's got those powerful proportions, it's got the amazing color scheme, and in some ways, I think they even made it better. One of the original gimmicks of the real grade line that has been not necessarily completely abandoned, but certainly toned down on a lot of the newer releases is the multi-tone armor. It used to be a really big thing with the early kits like the Gundam and the Zaku and the Gundam Mark II, where they'd have this whole multi-shade going on thing with the armor where you'd have like 3 different shades of gray for the armor panels. But in some of the newer ones, they've subdued it a lot more, and it's more of a subtle gradient from armor panel to armor panel, which I think looks a lot better. Now with the real grade Hi-Nu Gundam, they actually went ahead and did something similar with the blue sections on the funnels, where there are little lavender accents on the top and bottom of the blue stripes, which I think looks amazing. I really like that they chose to use a different color instead of just a different shade of blue, as it makes the decision look more deliberate. Another color choice I really like about this model is the metallic accents used around the joints. Now, it is fairly common to see little silver accents or gold accents, especially on mass trade models around, the knees and the elbows and in vents and stuff. But what I really like about the Hi-Nu Gundam is there's a bit of a reddish tint to the gold here, which almost gives it more of a bronze or copper color. This serves two purposes. Number one, it makes the whole, Bandai Gold syndrome a little less obvious, where instead of looking like a really crappy version of gold, it just looks like a slightly crappy version of bronze. And also it just makes the kit look more unique. There's a lot of Gundams out there with metallic silver or metallic gold accents, but there's not a lot that use other metallic colors. And I think Bandai's decision to go with a more bronzy looking metallic element for the joints really elevated the design. Of course, we do still have some silver accents as well around the hip skirts and around the knees, as well as in many other places of the design, and those also look phenomenal. Now, the bare silver plastic doesn't look the best, but I think I would prefer this over a bright metallic silver, since I think with the quantity of silver that is present on this design, it would be a little bit distracting if all of these silver pieces were bright and shiny. I really love how real grades over the last few years have just been taking everything they can to the next level, and on the Hi-Nu Gundam here, we have some proper shifting opening armor. This guy basically has an open hatch gimmick on his shoulder. When you actually look at what's under the armor here, you can see it is pretty much just flat bare plastic, so you're not really revealing anything, but just that extra little bit of mobility and detail in there is still really cool. The elbows on this kit are doing something that I feel like I've been seeing a lot of lately in Gunpla, where there's actually a swivel between the two hinges for the elbow. I'm pretty sure this was on the high grade Revive Zaku, and I think it was on, oh man, what was the other kit that did this? I think the Alex 2.0 did something similar to this too. I feel like I've definitely seen this joint design before, and it seems to be becoming more and more common with Bandai's newer kits. And another one to add to the list of tiny details that didn't need to be here but are here anyways is the Vulcan in the forearm that actually can be pulled out slightly. Literally no reason to include this feature, they just did because they could. We got more pop-open hatches on the back skirts, and look at this inner frame. Look at what we have going on here underneath the skirt armor. This is some Alex 2.0 level stuff we got going on here. We got gray parts and silver parts layered over each other. The gray parts are visible through the silver, and on top of that, there is some insane joint stuff going on in here with these front and side skirts. I've never seen anything exactly like this on any kit of any grade before. This particular joint configuration I think is brand new. I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure this is a new joint configuration. Another thing that I really like about some of the newer real grades we've been seeing is the much more subtle use of the armor shifting gimmick that I think they went a little overboard with on the early real grades. As you can see, the kneecap separates into two parts, exposes some nice detail under here. We got some lovely little bronze pistons, some armor that slides forward here, and again, more details being exposed under here, which is a really important part of a sliding armor gimmick. It doesn't matter if the armor slides unless there's something cool to see underneath it. And with the Hi-Nu Gundam, they definitely included some great details to show off. Further on down the leg, there's an even more subtle open hatch detail where the sides of the armor can be popped out just a little bit to give him that little bit of extra thickness in his calves. And around the back of the leg, there's some more panels that open up in a way that just makes the kit look absolutely gorgeous. And again, I love how much detail there is underneath the armor, and they're not just showing off featureless gray plastic. Here you can see a full display of all the shifting armor while all the panels are open at the same time, and I'm gonna say it right now, this just straight up looks like a Sazabi Verka. Seeing something like this on a 1/144th model is just unbelievable. The thrusters look amazing. Again, this is one of those things that could have just been two pieces of white plastic clamshell together, and they chose to go the extra mile with not just little bronze accents on the end, but the great little details around the end here, around the middle, on the very tip of the tank. There's just not an inch of this kit that they left unloved. Articulation on this kit is amazing, but I feel like at this point in 2021, it's kind of a given that kits are going to have great articulation. It's not really something that gets me super excited anymore. With that said though, that torso joint, pretty freaking impressive. Here we can see that new waist joint in action, showing off how it can get the armor panels for the skirt out of the way. This is one of those things where I feel like I would have to have the kit in hand to see how much it actually affects the articulation. The rifle for this kit looks just gorgeous. I feel like I'm running out of like positive adjectives I can use to describe this kit because everything about it is just so good. But this rifle is great. It's sleek. It's got little silver accents on the canister as well as the tip. I don't remember off the top of my head exactly what the original Hi-Nu Gundam's rifle looked like, but this definitely looks like there is some redesigning going on. I feel like they've made it a little bit slimmer. Man, if you went back in time like 5 years and showed me this kit and told me that it was 1/144 scale, I would have told you were full of crap, because this thing is unbelievable. And even today, I still almost can't quite believe this is actually a real 1/144th kit that we have. I've been really disappointed this year with how few new kits we've gotten, but it does seem like the few that we have gotten are really good kits, and the Hi-Nu Gundam just might be the leader of the pack. Here we can see a closer look at that shield, and as you can see, there are more of those lavender accents breaking up the blue and the white. I think this is a really cool pattern. It's vaguely reminiscent of camo, but it isn't really quite camo. It's almost like that sort of dazzle camouflage that you used to see on like military boats, but at the same time, it's not exactly like that because it's not black and white. It's like blue and lavender, and it's got some other colors mixed in. But whether or not it's actually a viable camo pattern, it's still a really cool graphic design, and it looks great with the rest of the model. All it really needs is a nice cool emblem right here, and it'll be just about perfect. Bazooka looks great. Actually, I've got a question for you guys. Do you ever display your kits with the bazookas? Because I feel like whenever I have a kit that has both a rifle and a bazooka, as most Gundams do, I usually display them with the rifle and just kind of throw the bazooka in my parts box. Here you can see the Hi-Nu Gundam with all of the hatches open, and while none of these are particularly striking on their own, when you have everything open at once, it does give a pretty cool effect. It looks especially striking from behind, where you have those extra panels on the back of the legs. You got the back of the skirts lifted up. super, super cool. Of course, another big advantage that this has over the high grade, if everything we talked about already wasn't enough of a selling point, is that every single one of the funnels is detachable. That was one of the things that always really annoyed me about the high grade Hi-Nu, is that 2 of the 3 funnels on each side were permanently attached. However, with the real grade, as one would expect, and as we saw with the new Gundam, you can fully transform and manipulate and operate all of the funnels separately however you like. So the kit you see on the right here is the original high grade Hi-Nu Gundam, and as you can see, there is a huge difference in size between these 2 kits. And I'm not really sure which of them is more accurate. There is a possibility that the original high grade was just made a little bit on the small side because, you know, it was an older high grade before they started doing a ton of obscure stuff, so maybe they thought something like the Hi-Nu Gundam wouldn't sell super well at retail, so they kind of made the kit a little smaller so they wouldn't be using as much plastic maybe, I don't know. But on the other hand, maybe they made the real grade a lot larger so they could fit more detail and gimmicks into it. I could really see it going either way. However, I definitely don't mind the real grade skewing on the larger side. I think it just makes it that much more imposing. And more importantly, this kit is supposed to look great with the high grade Nightingale, and I know for a fact that that kit is skewed on the larger side relative to its scale. If you look at the high grade Nightingale compared to a standard high grade and the Re-100 Nightingale compared to a standard Re-100 or master grade, you can see they did actually make the high grade Nightingale much larger relative to other kits of its scale. And sure enough, the real grade Hi-Nu Gundam, thanks to its additional height boost, is pretty much eye-line height accurate to the Nightingale, where they're pretty much both looking eye to eye with each other. And since these are the only 2 kits we have from Built to Order Chico's Children, I think it's more important that these 2 scale well with each other than anything else. So that was the real grade Hi-Nu Gundam, guys. I'm gonna have to pick one of these up. I haven't really gotten much of anything this year Gunpla-wise, just because while there have been a couple releases that interested me, I've just been kind of demotivated from building in general. I've got such a massive backlog now that I don't really want to buy any more new kits, but I think I might have to make an exception for the Hi-Nu Gundam. This thing is just too cool to pass up. If you want to hear me gush over this kit all over again in 2 months when no one else cares about it anymore, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss future videos from Channel 2S. Until then, I'm Second Soundwave, this is Channel 2S, and I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.